12.
This is all.
And exist in the moments.
Mercedes Moné.
The greatest women's match of all time.
Lock into the passion.
I will take the AEW World Championship.
This is do or die.
Be in the presence of history.
The match the world has wanted to see. Kenny Omega, Kazuchika Okada, winner take
All in Texas.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Beyond the Junkyard podcast. I am your host, Junkyard James, and with me, as always, on the Thursday live stream is the man, the myth, the legend, Cody Marinara. It's all in weekend. The feeling is live and electric. How are you doing this week, my friend?
Magical. It's a fantastic Thursday leading up to a great weekend of pro wrestling, professional wrestling, and there's only one show on this weekend that features professional wrestling to the highest standard. That is all in Texas. It was a great open. Glad we were able to have that promo. We're going to get sued and kicked off YouTube, so this is the last show we're ever going to do.
Yeah, we might get a copyright strike, or they may ask me to pull that off after they find out that I used it. But it'll be okay. It'll be all right.
We're going out with a bang, and I appreciate that. So thank you very much, sir. Yeah, that's about all the good adjectives that I can say at the moment. How are you doing tonight, Junkyard Jamie?
I am doing very well. It's all in weekend. We've been waiting for this weekend for quite some time. It's been a month or two since we've had an AEW pay-per-view, but I'll be honest with you. The buildup has been quiet, slow, but I think it hit on Wednesday. Wednesday was a really good show last night, and then obviously we're doing Collision right now. I'll watch it after we finish the show, or maybe I'll watch it tomorrow. Who knows? We'll see. I'll watch it before Saturday, and if any new matches get created, we'll break them live on the show. I haven't seen anything new, so oh, hey, my phone. Anyways, I got a question of the week for everybody. If you're watching live here, look in the chat. Let us know what's going on. Question of the night: which AEW All in Texas match are you most anticipating? For me, it is Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada for the first time in American soil. I can't wait to see them run it back again. That's probably going to be my most anticipated match. What about you, my friend?
I think I am actually all the matches are going to be great for sure. But I think that I'm going to go with Mercedes Moné versus Toni Storm. I think that match is not only had, a few months of build ready for it, but I think the match has been in years in the making. Once Tony left WWE, once Mercedes left WWE, and we finally get to see a culmination of two characters who have reinvented themselves, two wrestlers that have maybe not perfected, but have honed their craft. And it's going to be an interesting match. Mercedes TBS title isn't on the line, but the women's world title is on the line, and it's going to be I think it's going to be a really good match. Yeah, I cannot wait to see that.
Yeah, let us know in the chat who you guys are and what match you guys are most anticipating. Like you said, it's going to be an action-packed night. We got 8 matches that we're going to call. Like we said, Tony Khan may decide to add a couple more matches, though with the matches that we have and some of the stipulations on some of these matches, he may stick with 8. We have a 2-hour special edition kickoff show on Saturday, so we may get a couple matches there. My assumption would be one of them including Big Boom AJ, because he called out the Don Callis family on social media yesterday. So we'll see what happens there. But All In Weekends here, and let's jump into actually our mid-card meltdown before we break down. But first, got to give a big shout out to all of our sponsors. That's WWE Shop, that's W Energy, StubHub, and our new partner, which is RSS.com, which is actually the company that we use to upload our podcast to the audio format. So RSS.com, that link has been added into the description box with the other links. Go to our merch site, that is beyondthejunkyard.com. Use the code on the website there and buy some of our merch. Let's do some mid-card meltdowns before we predict the show. Anything this week that caught your eye that you just wanted to bring up, my friend?
There's a couple little minute things. It's not going to be too terribly long, but one is I'm sure you may bring it up in the show, but if not, I'll bring it up. The fact that we are yet again getting another WWE branded show on an AEW weekend. I believe NXT Heatwave is going to be taking place the same day as AEW Forbidden Door, which is taking place in London. So I'm going to be sure that it's going to have a live start time of 8, 7, something like that in London. Probably an earlier 12, 1 o'clock start time here in the States, which is fine. I'm not against that, but I think it's just ridiculous that WWE is still doing this petty bullshit, which clearly is an indicator that obviously they view AEW as competition and they want to try to squish AEW and try to get rid of it and try to monopolize the wrestling industry again. I'm not afraid of competition because AEW went head-to-head with NXT for a year and a half and won that battle, no problem. But AEW is trying to focus on itself, focus on its product. They're not trying to compete with WWE. They're trying to be an alternative, trying to differ themselves. And yet WWE still has to get on top of them. No, it's not welcome to the business because, again, WWE had no problem not doing this with TNA. TNA came to knock on their door with the Monday Night Wars back in 2010, to which obviously TNA said that's not a long-term sustainable thing, and so they backed out of it. But WWE, to my knowledge, in the 20 years of TNA's history, and feel free to correct me on that anytime that anybody would like to, from 2002 until their partnership this year, WWE never put a show on, weekly show, or pay-per-view the same day, the same time frame as in the TNA pay-per-view. And TNA from 2004 to 2010 had a very good following. Was probably the number 2 promotion in the world, if not definitely in the United States. But yeah, they had no problem, not countering them, which is interesting and funny enough that never happened. But all it took was, I guess, a guy that had some money behind his pocket for WWE to be threatened by him and to view him as competition and hold their events against them. Pretty ridiculous, in my opinion. It's petty, but it's funny as well. So that's my first little mid-card meltdown. My second is the fact that my dog won't shut the fuck up. Look at that. Anyways, I don't know if you took a listen to Vince probably would not be doing this, but again, Vince was in WWE in 2019 and 2020, if I'm not mistaken. And I know that Triple H had the lead creative thing on NXT before the whole new leadership. So I guess maybe Triple H was leading the spear with Shawn Michaels to go head-to-head with Dynamite on the Wednesday Night Wars. I'm sure Vince had no problem with it. He didn't veto it, so Vince did it.
My
Vince
problem
also. Go ahead.
Well, if I could interject real quick, my issue with this argument that TKO isn't Vince and Vince wouldn't be doing this is we have 20, 40, 30 years of evidence that Vince wanted to do this with the way that he ate up all the territories during the territory days. Any competition from Vince McMahon even into current day, any competition or anything that WWE deems as competition, their goal is to absolutely obliterate him. This isn't a welcome to the business moment. This is a moment of know your role, stay in your lane, which is why they were okay with TNA, because TNA wasn't profitable enough. They didn't have anybody with enough money to go head to head for a long period of time with WWE, so they stayed in their lane. AEW saying we're going to create our own lane and we're going to do stuff our way, and if WWE deems them as competition, then so be it.
Yeah, absolutely. You go back to Starrcade 1988. That was always a Thanksgiving weekend tradition. And then Vince said, let's put Survivor Series on against them. We want to do that. We want to try to squeeze the competition out of them. And then, of course, Bischoff countered WWE with the Monday Night Wars, but then Vince countered back with having SmackDown go up against Thunder. Thunder debuted in January of 98. SmackDown debuted in August 99. Went head-to-head with Thunder, and it forced Thunder to move different days because WWE was sucking at the time, so they needed to be off that, so they didn't have a second battle on the same week. For the people who say that TNA is the number 2 promotion, politely kill yourself. Politely kill yourself. There's way too much evidence to prove that they may not even be number 3. But that's a different story for a different day. I'm not going to get into that for the mid-card meltdown. My second thing that I was going to say is, and I don't know if you took a listen to the media call, I think it was Tuesday, with Tony Khan and members of the wrestling media, I guess. There was a question brought up that I didn't really like Tony's answer to it regarding Britt Baker. Yep. And the question, I believe, was that there's conflicting reports of if she's looking to leave AEW, there's people denying that. Could he clear it up? What's her status? This and that. And then gave a pretty corporate answer to it, saying, Britt's a talented person. It's not true that she hasn't been seeking to leave AEW, but he basically gave a non-answer to why she's not on TV, why she's not being brought back on TV. Basically, he said that he views AEW as a sports team, that people, football and hockey and things like that have line changes. They substitute people. If there's an injury, somebody fills a spot. People get run off the TV. There's a new person in the rotation, and they just kind of keep going, which it's a wrestling business. But basically said that, he would welcome Britt on TV, and, once basically, he didn't say it's verbatim, but he made it sound like once it's her turn, that in the rotation, she's free to come in and we can have creative for her. But it basically made it seem like she was a substitution more so than a starter, which I'm not sure if Britt would really take that as a compliment at all, knowing that she's an AEW original. But I think it's a good political answer. So but I don't like it for the fact that I think Britt's looking to eventually leave AEW to go to WWE. I understand he probably can't say too much because she is a current AEW person and things like that, but I just didn't really care for his answer on that question.
So it kind of makes sense using that logic, given that he runs a soccer team, and that's kind of a soccer strategy with their contracts for some of the players. If they're not guaranteed in the starting roster, they may ask for a certain amount of appearances, and they kind of have their role players essentially. So it makes sense that he uses that kind of analogy there. So that's not a great answer in my opinion, but I don't know what we can say about Britt Baker. I don't know if Tony, maybe he knows as the booker what the overall picture is on when or if she may come back. My hope is that she comes back on Saturday in the gauntlet match, but who knows if that actually happens. But Yeah, good stuff. I got a couple things to melt down about. The first one, let's go back to WWE. So let's talk a little bit. I was going to bring it up, and you mentioned it first. This heat wave idea. It's rumored to go in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And the person that broke that news also kind of explained that this is going to be WWE strategy going forward, because they don't want AEW controlling the narrative on their pay-per-view nights. So they want the last thing that people talk about not to be about how good a show AEW is having, but that WWE also has an additional show. And like, that's some low-key petty shit. Like, are you that afraid of what the social media community, the IWC, thinks about your product, that you have to put really bad shows on TV? Like, let's just be honest. The 3 shows that they have this week will not even touch an ounce of what AEW is going to do with All In. Like the Omega Okada match will beat all 3 of those shows combined. And so the social media narrative right now that I've seen online is, well, we'll watch NXT, we'll watch Saturday Night Main Event, we'll watch Evolution, but we'll watch it after AEW. Like, AEW is going to be my priority. And so, to me, would you not want your show to be the priority rather than the secondary? Like, why would you be so reactive as to say they're running a show on this day, so we have to run a show on this day as well? Because the rumor report was for Evolution was it was meant to be held this weekend. No, I'm sorry, not this weekend. Last weekend, July 5th, at Mohegan Sun. But because of they wanted to just gang up on AEW All In weekend, they booked it in Atlanta, and they went with AEW or in Atlanta the same week as the MLB All-Star Game and the Beyonce concert. And we've talked about all of that before. And so there are people that are pissed off backstage in WWE saying that this was rushed and that it's a really, like, so for social media clout, you're willing to piss off people backstage. For social media clout, you're willing to run an arena full of 8,000 people in a 19,000 seat stadium when you could have sold out Mohegan Sun. But for the social media clout, you had to do this. That's irritating. When I read that, it irritated me. The second thing I want to talk about is also a WWE thing, and it's about SummerSlam. And so people talk about, and we've criticized it before. We criticized AEW's use of Big Boom AJ on pay-per-views and actually having matches, but to their defense, they've only had 2. He's only had 2 matches, and both matches were on a pre-show, and it was there simply to promote the pay-per-view. Well, when you turn on SmackDown tomorrow night, they are going to begin a program with Jelly Roll having a main piece leading into SummerSlam, where he will be matched with one of their top tier baby faces. So I don't know if that's LA Knight. I don't know if that's Jey Uso. I don't know if that's R-Truth. I don't know who it is. No, they didn't say, but Jelly Roll is going to have a prominent match with a prominent baby face SummerSlam weekend. And it doesn't really make sense to have him show up in SummerSlam, because it's not like SummerSlam's in Nashville. SummerSlam's in New Jersey. And was it Cardi B is the host of SummerSlam this year? So it doesn't make sense. You're having somebody from a completely different genre show up than what they probably should. Now, it would make sense if they had some prominent rapper. I don't know. Use Travis Scott to push promotion because he's already there. You might as well use him. But to have Jelly Roll, who, as far as I understand, up until recently, hasn't even been in the ring a day in his life, have a prominent match on the main card, like that's David Arquette level ridiculousness.
Now,
Like,
I agree with you. However, while this man, don't know if he's the biggest, would I trust him with my life for a wrestling business? I don't know. But in a assistant to the creator type of thing, fine. But I do love his stories and his opinions and his history of the business and how. Anyways, Jeff Jarrett. If you ever listen to his podcast, I very much suggest it. Jeff is such a good talker when it comes to his description of things, how it's played out. Obviously, his stuff with TNA is great as far as the business side of it and all that stuff. I listened to an episode of his. It probably was a month ago, maybe a little bit more than that. But I agree with it. I don't love it, but I agree and I see where he's coming from and what he's saying. He said, nowadays, the Fed, WWE, we're not looking for the best indie guy, the next best indie guy, and to bring him in, train them the WWE way, and let them carry the brand. No. Instead, we're going to get the content creators, the entertainers, the podcasters, the YouTube people, the Twitch people, the X people, the TikTok stars, the musicians. We're going to get them because they have the entertainment perspective, they have the eyes, they have the creator, they have the content, they have the people's attention span, and then we're going to train them. And they don't need to have 15,000 moves and be able to flip and flop and splash and all this stuff. No, we just need to bring them in, let them train for a few months, let them bumper a little bit, and then show them every few months. Bad Bunny's a perfect example of this. Logan Paul is a more dedicated person to it. Pat McAfee the same way. But Pat McAfee, Logan Paul, Bad Bunny, possibly Jelly Roll. Bringing these entertainers in to play wrestling because they bring so much eyes from their world, and they're hoping to carry it over to the WWE side of it. That's where it's going to be in the future. We're not going to, in probably 10 years, we're not going to see a WWE that the main stars of the show are longtime guys who have honed their craft, paid their dues. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso,
right.
John Cena. We're not going to get those type of guys. We're going to get the content creators, the Mr. Beasts of the world, the whoever you want to call it. The guy that was a meme because of the spear from Braun Breaker, the Rumble. I forgot his name. Shabazi, whatever his name is.
Yeah, I Show Speed.
I Show Speed. It wasn't even close, but you know what I meant. We're going to get content creators that are basically going to fill up a Royal Rumble, and we're going to have the legends come out to be as a surprise people, because that's what it's going to turn into. Is we're going to get the content creators, and they're just going to play wrestling because we're getting a bunch of views. Essentially, that's all it's going to be. Is how many eyes can we get on the product? So don't be surprised if this is going to be something that's going to be a big theme leading into the future. Is this type of stuff happening? Right.
I mean, I don't hate it. And Jelly Roll, I don't necessarily hate it from the fact that it's Jelly Roll doing whatever. It's just, I don't know. To have him take up, there's so many people on that roster who could use that rub of working with the top baby face, and we're going to give it to a guy that's never stepped foot in a pro wrestling ring. Kind of rubs me the wrong way, being the in-ring guy. I like the in-ring product, and it feels like, in a way, WWE is saying we're going to make a mockery of the in-ring product. And yeah, that's the way that they're running, and it shouldn't come to a surprise to me, because their entire idea, their entire mantra going forward is going to be what sponsorships that can we get out of it. And I'm sure Jelly Roll may bring some sponsorships to come along with it, and that's all fine and dandy. But for the wrestling purist that I am, it feels like it's a bit of a mockery to some of the legends in the game. But we'll move on.
Now, to counter that real quick, for one, there's not much more room on the mat to have sponsorship. Now, of course, we can branch out for chairs or the steps, the ramp, the barricade, whatever we can think of. But
the ceiling.
To be fair, this is something that's always going on in wrestling, where we bring mainstream media into the fold. Cyndi Lauper, obviously, is a big example. Zeus from No Holds Barred, Mr. T. Obviously, if you get into the WCW side of things, where they had David Arquette, yes, Dennis Rodman, Karl Malone, Jay Leno, Beetlejuice. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. WWE, obviously, with Pete Rose, the San Diego Chicken, Drew Carey, and Snooki. The list goes on and on and on. It's always something that has happened.
Right.
But it's just one of those things that it's a publicity thing. It's to get more eyes on the product, and is what it is.
Yeah. Let us move on to our predictions. And like I said that on top, I was sure that we were going to get a match added on during Collision tonight. And breaking news, everybody, I don't know, unless I'm sure you're watching Collision or whatnot, we have a brand new match that was added that I did not add to the spreadsheet. So we'll talk about this one first before we get to our AEW stuff that I had prepared earlier. I'll throw it up here on the screen. We have the AEW World Trios Championship match. Finally, the Ops get to defend their Trios Championship when they fight the Death Riders, consisting of Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and Gabe Kidd this Saturday. This is a new match, just fresh off the press. And my initial reaction is there's no way the Death Riders win this belt. I'm going to go with the Ops to win it. I think they continue the storyline, and I think there can be a way that after this match you can bring Hook back and make the story a little bit interesting. But I think the Ops retain on Saturday.
I think it's the first title defense since the Ops have won the belt 4 months ago, so I'm glad that we're finally getting them to defend the titles. Yeah, and I believe I read something to where either Pac was hurt or there's some sort of issue going on with him. That's why they couldn't get him to fill in for this spot. That's obviously Pac's spot where Gabe Kidd is. But his picture right there reminds me a little bit of Solo Sikoa and I forget who else. I had the second person in my head, but it's funny how he looks. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Ops here. Like I said, I think it's the first time they defended the belt since they've had it, so I don't see why they would lose it here. Kind of figured that this was going to happen. I'm surprised they didn't announce it sooner, but yeah, I'm definitely going to go with the Ops for this match.
Absolutely. Let me now pull up the thing that I had prepared earlier. AEW All In Texas, Globe Life Field Arena in Arlington this Saturday. Obviously, we are going to start off this with Adam Cole Bebe defending the TNT Championship against Kyle, the Protostar Fletcher, for the TNT Championship. And who do you have winning this match, my friend?
I'll tell you what, if you looked on Twitter, people are saying that this should be a 5-minute match. I don't think it'll be a 5-minute match, but I think this is the time to make that TNT title a little bit more relevant again. And I thought this was going to be the case whenever Adam Cole initially won the title from Daniel Garcia, and I thought that Daniel Garcia would do this, and it's just kind of been hidden in the shadows a little bit. So hopefully the winner of this match will make it mean a little bit more, bring some more notoriety and notice to it, maybe defend it a little bit more here and there, even though he's a heel. Hey, this is Kyle Fletcher's moment. I think Kyle Fletcher is going to get the win here and become the new TNT champion, and I think this could set up a long-term thing to where, hey, maybe Takeshita could fight for it down the road, but I'm definitely going to go with Kyle Fletcher to win the TNT championship.
Yeah, well, I think we were thinking we're on the same wavelength here. I am sure that in some way, shape, or form, Daniel Garcia will be involved in this match. I think he may cost Adam Cole the belt, which can have a non-title feud with Adam Cole and Daniel Garcia. And that whole Adam respects him, but kind of thing. Like, we can kind of see where that goes. But this is Kyle Fletcher's moment, and what a journey it's been for Kyle Fletcher. I think he made his AEW debut at All in Wembley Stadium a few years back as part of the United Empire, and like they were the jobber tag team, him and Mark Davis. And now he is fighting for a championship in Texas, and I think Kyle Fletcher has probably been one of the most improved on AEW since his debut. I think he deserves this belt. He plays the heel character really well. And so I think Kyle Fletcher becomes the new TNT championship champion, which opens the door for a plethora of people to try and beat the Protostar, and maybe, like you said, Takeshita can maybe fight him for it, or just countless other names that we can throw into the ring for the TNT championship. Let's move on now to a non-title match, but there are some really big stakes for this match. The Young Bucks taking on Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay. If the Young Bucks lose, they can no longer call themselves EVPs. And if Swerve and Ospreay lose, they can't challenge for the world title for one whole year. And what stipulations that could be. I'm going to throw it to you to start it off. Who wins this match?
It's a great stipulation. I love the fact that they brought up that Swerve and Ospreay were not going to be the EVPs, because I think if that was the case, we probably knew what the outcome was going to be. I love the fact that they were like, no, we're not going to be the EVPs. You the fans, you guys dictate, how this works. And so I really like that high-profile stake match. So I have some thoughts and theories going into this.
So do I.
And part of this has to do with the main event as well. So I'm not going to give my whole thing away, but I need you to remind me, bring up the stakes of this match for the world title match.
Okay.
All I'm going to say, the Young Bucks are winning.
See, I think I may know where you're going with that, with the world title scene. And I was going to have the Young Bucks win, and it would make sense when we talk about the men's gauntlet match for the Young Bucks to win. If the person I think wins the gauntlet match, it would make absolute total sense. But then I just had to go back on my gut, and my gut feeling says Swerve and Ospreay get the win, and we can have some fun with the Young Bucks just no longer being EVPs. If you ask some people, like the guy who slaps his meat every Tuesday and Friday, if they lose their EVP status, maybe the Young Bucks will go to WWE in the near future. Who knows? Anyways, Yeah, give me Swerve and Ospreay to win this one. We move on to the AEW World Tag Team Championship 3-way match. The Hurt Syndicate have to take on the teams of Jet Speed, that's Kevin Knight, and Speedball Mike Bailey, and the Patriarchy, Nick Wayne and Christian Cage. What a difference maker some of these tag team matches are from what the tag team matches that were the prediction months ago for All In, that being FTR versus Christian Cage and Adam Copeland. We haven't seen Copeland since January. And Christian Cage and this Patriarchy storyline still going on. So I don't know if we'll ever see Copeland and Cage tag team again. This is a fun match, but what's your thoughts?
Hurt Syndicate win. The only other team that I could see win this is the Patriarchy, because maybe they have a deal with FTR and FTR makes an appearance, costs the Hurt Syndicate the belts. But the fact that the Hurt Syndicate basically got beat up on last night on Dynamite gives me a little bit of good of an indication that we were giving the other two teams a spotlight, saying that, oh, no, they have a good opportunity, they have a chance. But in the end, the Hurt Syndicate are too much, and they're going to come out and be on top. I don't think MJF cost them any match. I don't think we're at that point yet. It's too quick. Would be kind of cool to see the Patriarchy win the belts and make that the father-son tag team titles or something like that. But I'm going to go with the Hurt Syndicate to retain the belts here.
I was thinking your way before I made my prediction, but I think it makes total sense where we're going. There's two heel teams, one face team. That usually, to me, reads that a heel team is going to win. I think the Patriarchy takes the belts here, for two reasons. One, like you said, the Hurt Syndicate got their ass whooped last night. But what wasn't really mentioned on commentary was MJF just left them to basically die. Like, he just snuck out the back door and disappeared. Mix that with the fact that MJF showed up on MLW a couple weeks ago, and he's been hanging out with some of his Dynasty teammates, Alex Hammerstone, to be the most frequent guy that he was talking to. So I don't know if MJF cost them the match, but I wonder if the Hurt Syndicate are questioning MJF's allegiances. My guess is Jet Speed is in this match. They're going to take the pin. And the Patriarchy wins. They pin Jet Speed. That allows the Hurt Syndicate to not look super weak. And it could be something as simple as MJF distracting the Hurt Syndicate or something super simple like that to push that MJF storyline to the brink. Because I think that the MJF piece of the Hurt Syndicate story is going to end much sooner than later. You get the Patriarchy, the title. And this is where my fantasy booker comes in. We haven't seen one piece of the Patriarchy in quite some time. Rumor had it several months ago. Luchasaurus was almost cleared back to wrestle after having that lung issue that almost took his life. And so he should be cleared to wrestle hopefully soon. But we haven't seen one particular person in quite some time as well. And his name is Jack Perry. So in my fantasy booker mind, the Patriarchy win the AEW Tag Team Championships. And we get a returning Jurassic Express to come back. What a pop that would be to hear their theme music after several years of not hearing it. And we have Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy Jack Perry back together again. And then we could set that up for probably Full Gear or or Wrestle Dream or one of those smaller shows in the back end of the year. But give me the Patriarchy, long story short, to win this match. So we continue. Next match on the card. Well, let's talk about the winner takes all AEW Unified Championship match. Kazuchika Okada comes in as the AEW Continental Champion. Kenny Omega comes in as the AEW International Champion. Winner takes all. They combine the belts together. This, I told you at the top of the show, this is my most anticipated match of the night. Okada, Omega again. Can they repeat their Wrestle Kingdom 11, I believe, match that they had several years back? I don't know if it'll be that level of greatness. But for the first time on American soil, we get Omega and Okada. And what a match this is going to be. Your thoughts on this match, my friend?
So, believe me, I'm looking forward to this match. It's going to be a great match. However, from what Tony Khan said on the media call pertaining to this match yesterday, it didn't kill the match for me, but it definitely brought it down a level, for sure. I assume you didn't hear the media call yesterday.
I did not.
All right. So, and I am very surprised that this has not been brought up beforehand. And when this person asked this question, Tony was like, "Oh, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk about this." Like, Tony, you had an opportunity to talk about this on Dynamite or Collision to explain this. So, and as you can see, I'm being fair here. I'm not being biased and just saying AEW is perfect and it's great all the time. No, you're hearing me speak some bias or non-bias and realisticness when pertaining to AEW, and this was a huge flaw from Tony Khan to not have any sort of announcement or any sort of description, a true description of this whole concept. So, in my opinion, in my eyes, the Unified Champion, that is the championship. That is those belts combined. And even though you can say this had a lineage of the Continental Championship or the International Championship, and you kind of bring it as one. Well, that is not the case. The International Championship and the Continental titles, they're not retiring. The lineage of those titles would be intact after All In. The winner of this match could even carry all three belts, including the Unified, the Continental, and the International title. 3 belts in one, but not really. The Continental Classic will be back this year, so the Continental Champion was still going to be a thing, and that's all fine and dandy. But why in the hell are we going to have still 3 titles for 1 belt? So you could theoretically still defend the International Championship separately. You could defend the Continental Championship separately. I don't even know if you can defend the Unified Championship separately, because if you lose the Continental title, now you have to forfeit that Unified belt because it doesn't mean anything because you're not a Unified Champion.
Right.
I don't love that. I don't love the fact that Tony waited almost until the very last day to even have this whole description of what this whole thing means. They've had weeks building up for this match, and they've done a great job with the video packages to show the importance, to show the prestige of this match, how important it was back in New Japan Pro Wrestling in the late 2010s, why it's such a big deal, why it's going to be a great match. The winner take all, the entirety build of it has been great leading up to it. It almost made it seem like it was the second most important, almost on par with the most important match on the card. But that media call just drove it down a level for me, because it's like, why are we all of a sudden now given this description of how this whole thing is going to work, A, on a media call, and B, we didn't even follow up with it, as far as to my knowledge, on Dynamite or Collision. So now most of the fans that didn't even listen to that, they're going to be expecting, kind of like what I just described before, what was told going into Saturday, and then we're going to get at the very last minute Excalibur or Taz or Shivani or McGuinness describing what this actually is going to entail. So it's almost like, oh, okay. Like, it just drives it down a little bit for me. With all that being said, this is a match I'm not sure about. It's 1-1-1, I believe, or they've had 4 matches or 5. They had 4. If they've had 4, then I know Kenny's won once. There was a draw, and either Okada's won twice or he's won once. Regardless,
Yeah.
I think. I was going to say I think it boils down to who needs it the most, and who needs it the most is Okada, in my opinion. But I'm going to go with Omega. I think the level we're trying to get to Kenny Omega is pretty high. So I'm going to have Kenny winning this match, and as of Saturday, become the unified champion and hold all 3 belts.
Yeah, you explaining that, and that's a little bit confusing. I wonder if it's the same principle as when was it Eddie Kingston when he won the first Continental Classic? He had like 4 different championships with that, and he could defend any of the 3 separate. Because I think at the time it was the International, the Continental, and then there was one other belt I think that he held. It was either 2 or 3 belts, but he could defend them separately or he could defend them all together. I wonder if that's the same prospect, that if the winner of this match wins, they could defend the unified belt, and if it's kind of a winner takes all type of thing, or he could defend them separately. I'll agree with you on this. This was a big miss on their part of explaining this piece, because I trust me, the social media world was talking about them unifying these belts for weeks now, and so for them to kind of give us a last minute explanation, that's kind of not a good look for this championship. I get trying to be kind of creative with the way that it works, but it's not really a unified belt if you can defend it separately, in my opinion. You take a look at like when WWE unified their world championships, like both belts were always on the line. So
yep.
That's not a good look to me. But the match itself, I think, is going to be a 5-star or 6-star match. Like I said, I don't know if they'll be able to put on a athletic specimen of a match that they did like a decade ago, just because of age and all of that. But I'm going Omega too. I think this really does fit Omega's wheelhouse, and it's I think Okada could really benefit more from just having a little bit of time away. Maybe he shows back up in New Japan. I think what's G1 Climax or one of their tournaments is starting pretty soon, and what a treat it would be if we let Okada go back to Japan for a little bit. I don't know if they'll do that, but I think Okada would be a great unified champion, but Omega, in my book, gets the W on Saturday. Let's move on to the next match. Let's talk about the AEW Women's World Title. What might be the greatest women's match of all time, at least that's the build-up. Mercedes Moné, Toni Storm for the World Championship. And now the social media world has been abuzz. If you were in our Discord, which, by the way, I failed to plug it at the beginning, we have a Discord. The link's in the description. If you were reading any of the conversation last night about Mercedes Moné and the fact that she has 7 belts, and that there are some people that lack the common sense to understand what's going on with Mercedes Moné collecting all of these belts and what's coming forward. And they're really pissed off at the opportunity that Mercedes Moné can hold 7 championships. Are failing to realize that this is like common practice in independent circles for people to hold multiple different championships and to defend them at really random times. And so if you take AEW as being the independent spirit with the mainstream budget, it would make more sense to you why Mercedes Moné holds several championships. Because at the end of the day, AEW is a rich man's indie scene. And so this is why it makes sense. Why does she have the Rev Pro title? Why does she have the CMLL belt? Why does she have some random Austrian championship? Why does she have the TBS belt? Why is she an Owen Hart winner? And the reason for that, they're going to explain when she starts losing these belts. But this might be one of the best matches of the night. Mercedes Moné and Toni Storm are two of the best in AEW, not just in the women's scene, but overall in the entire roster. Mercedes Moné is not defending her TBS championship this weekend. At least to my knowledge, she isn't. Who knows? Maybe we'll catch something here shortly. But big women's match. Big stakes. Can Mercedes Moné become 7-belt Moné? What do you say, my friend?
It's interesting how this match, if Mercedes wins it, they're not going to label it as the AEW Women's Unified Championship. They're treating it as two different belts, the TBS belt and the World belt. I thought it was funny. But her belt's not on the line anyway, so that's probably why they're not going to throw that unified thing in there, because she's not even defending her belt. And again, I'm going to go back to Tony Khan's media call on Tuesday, wherein somebody had mentioned if Mercedes Moné was in control of her own creative, if certain people have creative control over their characters, to which Tony flat out said, nope, that is false. That is not true. I am the head of creative. I have final say. We can have ideas, and people can have, I give my superstars the liberty to do their own promos, to make their own characters. And I have an idea of how maybe I would like it to go. But as far as the promos and the characterization of that, that's more so on the wrestler and the wrestling part of it. For the decision-making of who's going to win, who's going to lose, who's going to be in what feud, this and that, that's more of a Tony Khan decision. So, no, it's not just Mercedes. It's not her throwing around her creative control card. Tony sees her as a very big star, a very big international star. He's treating her like one by letting her go to these independent scenes, shows, winning belts, and like you said, being an indie belt collector, so to speak. And I think that she continues with that. I think she wins the women's world title on Saturday. I just did what she did. I said it was on Sunday, not Saturday. Yeah, I think she wins it on Saturday. I think she becomes 7 belts Moné. I think this is truly where Toni Storm finally takes a break, a much-deserved break. And I almost think that because of the Mariah May situation, that Toni was supposed to have a longer break, but they had to bring her back a lot quicker because of the whole fact that Mariah was probably going to go to WWE anyways. And they were like, you know what, we got to speed things back ahead. We don't have somebody that's ready to take over the women's division quite yet. It's almost like the Moxley situation. When in doubt, go to your ace. Your ace is Toni Storm in the women's division. So they put the belt back on her, have this whole creative lead up to All In. Very well done. But I do think Mercedes does win, becomes the 7-belt Moné and the AEW Women's Champion. And Toni will take she may wrestle Forbidden Door in her home country of England again. So maybe a quick feud to do that show and then take a break off with the fall. And yeah, that's how I see this going. Should be a great match. This was the match that I said I'm looking forward to the most. I'm not going to say it's going to be the greatest women's match in the world. I'm just saying it has potential to be one of the best women's matches of all time. So
at least in AEW, right? At least in AEW, I agree. I think this match is really good, and it's been set up really well. And I actually agree with you. And I think there's been some stories kind of leaked out that this was supposed to be where the final ending took place between Mercedes Moné and Mariah May. But she decided to leave. Oh yeah. I'm sorry, Toni Storm and Mariah May. And they had to rush that ending, and Toni Storm had to kind of rush back in because if you remember, Toni Storm was leaving these almost like Bray Wyatt-esque vignettes on like New Japan and on social media where it's like, scan this QR code and there's like some weird riddle that you had to solve. And then all of a sudden they stopped and she showed back up, and it seemed kind of rushed. And so it makes sense. I think this was the place where the final ending was supposed to happen. But this was a match that Tony Khan has said he's been working with Mercedes Moné to get to this point since she signed in AEW. And so I really think they're going to give this match the time it deserves to be a really good women's match. And not to mention that there's two of the best of all time in the ring on Saturday afternoon.
Listen, man, it's a 3 p.m. Eastern start time. Saturday night's main event's not till 8, so we got 5 hours. People going to get time on Saturday. So let them have it.
Let them have it. They got the time, and I better not see one person complain about the length of this pay-per-view, because I know for a damn fact you'll stay up after this show to watch Saturday night's main event and watch Goldberg put everybody to sleep. But on this match, I agree with you. I think Mercedes Moné wins. I think she becomes 7-belt Moné, leading to and I broke it down in the Discord last night. She wins. I think she then starts we're going Forbidden Doors the next pay-per-view. She holds the Rev Pro Women's Championship. Rev Pro's in England. She loses the Rev Pro title before Forbidden Door at some point in that lead up. And it starts her slow downfall, and she starts becoming more antsy about losing her belts. She can lose that one, and then while she's over in that area, maybe she loses the TBS title to Mina Shirakawa, or if it was me, I would have her lose the Rev Pro title to Nina Samuels, and then have her lose the TBS title to a new debuting Alex Windsor, who was Nina Samuels' tag team partner in Rev Pro before she left Rev Pro. And then you can have her drop all of these other belts leading up to her finally dropping the AEW Women's Championship at some point in the near future. She doesn't even have to lose all her belts by Forbidden Door, but let that start to be the process to where, like, because remember, Mercedes Moné came in and she started winning these belts because she had Camille as her backup. Well, now she doesn't have backup. And so now you start to see the crack in the armor. Maybe she tries to build another stable. There's always been rumors ever since Camille kind of took her time away from AEW that like the Renegade Twins would tag team with Moné. Maybe she starts to build that stable. Or maybe Camille comes back. I don't know what her time frame is with American Gladiators, but like the story is she is the belt collector. She's basically female Kenny Omega from several years ago, the belt collector. And she's going to have this dramatic fall from grace and lose all the belts. But on Saturday afternoon, Mercedes Moné is the better woman. You allow Toni Storm to have some time off. Maybe she has a match at Forbidden Door, like you said, but then she can just kind of take the time off. Her time in the rotation's gone. She can take her break, and we can move someone like a Willow Nightingale or a Chris Statlander or a Tekla or somebody like that up into the next echelon and let them get their opportunity to show what they're able to do, or maybe give Anna Jay some time, or maybe it's Megan Bain's chance for glory at some time in the near future. So I agree with you. I think Mercedes Moné gets the win here on Saturday. So before we talk about the men's championship, let's talk about these gauntlet matches, because the men's title match is the main event, and I think it's important to get some context behind some of these gauntlet matches to talk about in the near future. We'll start with the women's casino gauntlet match. Now, there's only been, as far as I'm aware, and again, I haven't watched Collision from tonight, 2 confirmed people in this Casino Gauntlet match, and that is Chris Statlander and Megan Bayne. So the field is wide open for how many women, and I don't know how many women they're going to have in this match, but the field is wide open to have all of your, AEW roster, maybe some surprises. So the first question for the women's match is, do we see any new debuts or surprise returns or legends of the game make a show up? And then the second question would be, who do you think wins the gauntlet match?
Yeah, I think we'll get a few surprise appearances. Alex Windsor, I think, could be one. Wouldn't surprise me if we see Britt Baker show up for this. It wouldn't surprise me if we see Camille show up for this. So I'm not 100% sure. So hard to predict who's going to win this when you don't know the entirety of the people that are in the match. But I'm trying to think of it as a couple different ways, because I know they have said that the winner of this receives a world title shot. They didn't say when, they didn't say where. My guess is setting this kind of helps us set up for Forbidden Door. We get an international flair to help us steer towards a Forbidden Door. Could be wrong. And I think I said that Tony would have a match at Forbidden Door in her home country of England. That is not the case. She's playing an English woman, which is from Australia, so my apologies on that. Which makes this match pretty difficult to predict of who in the world is going to win. Part of me wants to say Alex Windsor, just for the fact that she would wrestle a very big match in her home country of England. Part of me thinks Statlander's primed for the next opportunity to face Mercedes for one of those, if not both those belts. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to be wrong, but I'm going out on a limb. Tony Khan mentioned in the media call that he had to make some changes to the women's roster because of some injuries. In particular, Queen Amanada was not supposed to be in the match on Wednesday, but she was. However, I think we get this woman who is going to face Mercedes in her home country of England at Forbidden Door. I'm going to say Jamie Hayter's returning and she's going to win this match.
Motherfucker. You and I have the same thought process, because I saw that story. So I guess that was on the media call, huh? I saw that story, and so when I first penned this, who I thought was going to win, I had Willow Nightingale mentioned, because I think she should be one of the next big stars in the women's division. And then I even thought, well, maybe it's Megan Bayne's chance. But Megan Bayne's already had a world title opportunity and she failed. And I was like, oh, wait, Forbidden Door's in England. And so I was like, he mentioned that Jamie Hayter took some time off or had to take some time off due to injury. And it really changed some plans, which put into my mind, obviously Jamie Hayter was due a big push at some point in the last several months. Maybe it's now time for her push. So I, too, have Jamie Hayter winning this match, and I want it to be the only person to pick her. But you and I obviously know Tony Khan way too well, and we picked the same woman. So Jamie Hayter is our favorite here on this show to win the women's Casino Gauntlet match, though I do think we could see some surprise names. I could see someone like Elena Black, aka Cora Jade, showing up. I could see someone like Priscilla Kelly showing up. I could see someone like Mara Sade show up. Some of these people that were recently released by AEW from WWE may show up because all of their 30-day contracts are up. And remember, NXT contracts only had 30-day no competes. Maybe Britt Baker shows up. I'm trying to think of some women that kind of disappeared and haven't really been seen. I'm sure we'll get some of the Japanese women, Emi Sakura, Yuka Sakazaki, some of them. I don't know.
Shida, if she's back.
Shida, maybe. I don't know if her. I wonder if there was a way for them to give her like a temporary access to the country because she wasn't able to be here because of visa issues. Maybe they got those resolved. I don't know. So it'll be interesting for sure. What a shock it would be though if like someone like Saraya showed up, like because everybody thought that she's no longer an AEW wrestler. But what if she showed up at the show and surprised everyone? Obviously, Athena will probably be in it. Diana Perrazzo said she wants her all-in moment, so maybe she's in the gauntlet. But here on the show, we both have Jamie Hayter winning, and it's because we listen to too much wrestling news, so we kind of... Yeah, anyways. Let's talk about the men's casino gauntlet match. And unlike the women's match, where we only know 2 confirmed contestants, and the men's match, we know 3. And that is MJF, Mark Briscoe, and Mystico. I hope at some point in time, Mystico and MJF set up for a hair versus mask match. And so Mystico can shave the fuck out of MJF and he has to go bald. That would be absolutely hilarious and funny considering the fact that MJF spent bajillions of dollars on hair implants. But anyway, so those are the 3 that we know. Any surprises again for the men's match? And who is your winner of the men's gauntlet match?
We could see a surprise or 2. I don't think we'll see as many surprises for this match as we could see for the women's side of it. In my opinion, it can set up for that, but I think there's just too many. This and the women's casino gauntlet match is a way for them to just put as many people on the card as possible. That's a old wrestling tradition. WrestleMania did it for kind of the Money in the Bank match, and then they did with the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. It's a big show. It's your biggest show of the year. Get as many people on the card. I'm not against that. I think that's cool for promotions to do things like this to at least get people on the card in some capacity on their biggest show of the year.
Right.
This match, and you can go a couple ways with this. I hope you don't steal a thought in my head. This is not my idea of what I think is going to happen or what I want to happen. It's just a secondary idea of, if you think about it, maybe this could happen. I'll save that for the world title match if you don't give it away. I had an answer of who I was battling between 2. I'm just going to choose one. I'm going MJF. That's my answer.
MJF. That's a good pick. Before I make my pick, I'm constantly scrolling AEW to see if they're going to add any additional matches. On 0 Hour, we're probably going to get a Big Boom AJ match. He had a segment on Collision. He called out the Don Callis family again. And FTR called out the Outrunners for 0 Hour. So they'll probably be on 0 Hour as well. We won't predict those because those aren't confirmed matches yet. Though I'm assuming they'll be confirmed within the next however long. And they're on 0 Hour. So I don't know if you want to count those or not. But just to keep you updated on that news there, my thoughts for the gauntlet match. I kind of agree with you. I don't really know how many surprises or debuts we may get. Tony Khan's been really great here recently at showing restraint, signing free agent talent and debuting them in ways that make it feel special. Like I know Ricochet last year, I believe, showed up in the gauntlet match, and that was his debut, and it made it seem special. I don't know if any of the talent that are free agents this year, if they showed up, it would really feel special if they showed up at this gauntlet match. There are some free agents from maybe like New Japan like Tetsuya Naito, I believe, who's a free agent, though I don't know if his contract is officially up with New Japan yet. I think we get someone like a Tanahashi maybe that could show up leading, because his final match in England is Forbidden Door, so maybe we could get him in the gauntlet match, and that could set up his the feud for his final match in England. Maybe like a Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson may show up and play a part in the gauntlet match. Sting maybe could make an appearance in the gauntlet match.
He's retired.
But my pick to win the gauntlet match, and part of me wishes I would have mentioned this after the main event, because I'm probably going to give away how I think the main event's going to end. But maybe it won't. Maybe it won't. But first, before I give that, there was a fun rumor that me and some other Max Caster fans had. I think he'll show up in the gauntlet match. Max Caster has lost every match since he split with Anthony Bowens. And we said, wouldn't it be hilarious as if his first win came in the Casino Gauntlet match?
That would be pretty funny. Now, I'm sure he's going to have he can't do his 5 minutes thing, because at least in the gauntlet, because he's not number one, but he could do it on the pre-show. But
right,
I don't know.
I don't think it happens. I think long term, Anthony Bowens and Max Caster are both losing, and it'll eventually lead to them tag teaming again. I think that's what happens with them. But my winner of the gauntlet match is Darby Allin.
I knew I knew that was going to be your winner. That's why I didn't want to pick him. I'm just hoping that you don't spoil what I think you're about to.
Let's go to the men's World Championship match, a Texas death match, all in Texas. The main event of the night, Texas death match rules. They said on Dynamite last night, did I catch this, that the winner can only be by submission or knockout?
I believe so. Let's see.
I believe that if I heard it right. Sometimes commentary, I don't really pay a whole bunch of attention to.
Only way to win is if you pin your opponent. So this is according to fansided.com.
Okay.
Only way to win is if you pin your opponent and ensure they don't get to their feet by the count of 10.
10 count. Okay. Gotcha.
So you have to pin them, and then it's basically a last man standing. They can't answer the 10 count.
Gotcha. Okay. Regardless, this is going to be a very brutal match. Obviously, Texas death match, basically no rules. It's just beat the ever-living pulp out of them. They've had a Texas death match before. Moxley lost. Hangman won. I'm going to let you go because I'm afraid I might spoil you.
No, I don't think so. I think I know where your thought process is going to go. And that was, and if I'm correct, that was my secondary idea of, that would be interesting. This match is very hard to predict. And the reason being is because, and I think this was a terrifically smart idea. So the heels were beating the shit out of the babyfaces, then the babyfaces came back and beating the shit out of the heels. However, at the end of the show, Moxley was on his feet, Hangman was on his feet. They didn't beat each other up. Moxley walked out through the crowd. Hangman was in the ring. Theoretically, the babyfaces were on top because they were in the ring and the bad guys were on the outside of the ring. But the fact that we didn't get like Hangman standing over top of Moxley or Moxley standing over top of Hangman at the end of the show, that usually is a good prediction for what's going to happen in the match. We didn't get that. So still left you that itch of, nobody really has a one-up going into the show between these two. And I thought that was a very well put ending to make you feel like there's not a favorite. There is a fan favorite, but there's not a true favorite between those two because of that. I think we are going to get a Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, WrestleMania 40 type of shenanigans where it's going to be a shit ton of people from the locker room beating the hell out of each other. I think this is where you can see Copeland come back. Honestly, you fucked me over. I'm going to fuck you over and make you lose your belt. I think we could see Darby come back, not at the Casino Gauntlet Battle Royal, but here. Hey, okay. I got it. I got written off the TV. I got beat up because of you guys. I'm beating the crap out of you guys. My revenge. To kind of exploit and counter the fact that the Young Bucks, Gabe Kidd, Claudio Yuta are behind Moxley. We've got this group of guys that are coming back to help even the odds and even counter the odds.
Okay.
But because I didn't go with Darby and I didn't present my secondary idea, I got Heyman winning and becoming the world champion. Now, going back to the tag team match between the Bucks against Swerve and Ospreay. Of course, we all remember stipulation for that. If Swerve and Ospreay wins, the EVP status gets ripped off the Young Bucks. If the Young Bucks win, Swerve and Ospreay cannot battle for the world title for a year. That is why I picked the Bucks. They keep their EVP status. A heel group wins. The Bucks are going to try to ensure that Moxley or Gabe Kidd or Claudio or Yuta or all of them help the Bucks win. As a scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, because they've been fighting this whole thing together. The Death Riders help the Bucks. In the main event, the Bucks try to help the Death Riders, but then back away. And they don't help them. Because they got their EVP status. They're just going to turn on them, basically. Ospreay and Swerve cannot battle for the title for a year. Hangman's a babyface. I think a babyface, no matter what's coming out of this show, is a world champion. Why we have babyface versus babyface for the world title? That wouldn't make any sense. I think Swerve's in a good spot to where he can feud with a few guys. And I think this is where Jack Perry comes back, is also in that Bucks versus Swerve and Ospreay match. Jack Perry costs Swerve and Ospreay the match.
Okay.
Swerve's next feud is with Jack Perry or Ospreay or both. Gabe Kidd could be with Ospreay for Forbidden Door. I think Ospreay's moment's coming next year at Wembley Stadium. He's going to be crowned a world champion. And that's why I picked MJF to win the Battle Royal, because I got MJF beating Hangman Adam Page at World's End 2025 in December. MJF had everything taken from him at World's End 2022, 2023.
Yep.
He's coming to end the world of Adam Page and kind of get a little bit of revenge. It's not Adam Cole, but it's him countering Adam Page, one-upping him. Hurt Syndicate helps him. MJF ends 2025, going into 2026 as a world champion. And then we get Ospreay versus MJF 3 or 4 at Wembley Stadium for the world title. That's the 1-year anniversary of when Ospreay would theoretically have his world title ban up. All makes sense in my head. That's why I'm going that way. But yes, in the end, after all of this smorgasbord is going on, a bunch of stuff happening. Cope comes back, Darby comes back, Jack Perry comes back. We got a bunch of these guys just ending this whole entire thing. Bucks swerve and screw over the Death Riders. Death Riders can't counter the Ops, can't counter Cope, can't counter Darby Allin. Adam Page ends the show as a world champion.
This match is tough for me to decide. Like this, because one day I'm like leaning one way. One day I'm leaning the other way. Both make sense from a storyline position. Now, if AEW wants to appease the fans, which I think they do, I think they know what they're doing. I think Adam Page would win. If the idea is we finally have to end this story with Moxley and we have to let the fans leave happy, because we've had some pay-per-views here recently where the aftermath has been absolute chaos. And if Hangman does not leave Globe Life Field as champion, there may be more chaos. and it's early enough in the evening that that stadium may be up in flames by the end of the night. So I can see Hangman Page. Now, obviously, I picked Darby Allin to win the match, and this is why. I agree with you that we're going to get the Mighty Morphing Power Rangers all popping up out of nowhere, and we're going to have the clusterfuck. I see it this way. So they added Gabe Kidd to the trios match. Gabe Kidd takes the pin. Moxley is pissed off at Gabe Kidd. So Gabe Kidd, he plays full circle. He's going to help Moxley in a big way. And he's going to help destroy Hangman Page. And Gabe Kidd is ruthless. And I think we could see a match with Gabe Kidd and Hangman Page at Forbidden Door. And see, this is where it kind of throws me for a curveball, because I could also see Gabe Kidd takes the pin and he comes out and he tries to help Moxley, and he ultimately misses Hangman and hits Moxley and knocks Moxley out, and he can cost Moxley the match, and then we can have Moxley versus Gabe Kidd at Forbidden Door. I can see that happening. But at the same time, Darby Allin, his story, this whole Death Rider story, if you look at the Death Rider story, it started in September last year, I think, or maybe August of last year, when John Moxley basically through his mind tricks stole Darby Allin's #1 contendership for the championship. Moxley beats Danielson. The rest is history. Darby goes to climb Mount Everest. Now, Darby's been on the record saying he feels like he's already a champion because he climbed Mount Everest. He really doesn't need an AEW championship to validate how good he is as a wrestler. But I still think Tony Khan wants to put the belt on Darby Allin. I really do. Because if not, he would have put it on Ospreay, or he would have put it on somebody else. And as much as Hangman Page would really benefit from having the belt, and as much as he is the main character of AEW, I think he's a better chaser than he is champion, and him losing this match could really set up some stories in the near future. I'm going John Moxley wins this match. I don't think John Moxley fights Darby Allin at Forbidden Door. I think Moxley will fight. He'll probably fight some New Japan guy. I don't know any baby faces off the top of my head that maybe he could go up against, or maybe he'll go up against. Maybe he won't defend the belt at Forbidden Door. Who knows? I think Moxley. So the next pay-per-view after Forbidden Door will be October's pay-per-view, which is Wrestle Dream.
August for All Out.
August is All Out.
Or September.
Okay. That's right, in September. And Toronto, that might be where we see Cope come back. We might see leading up to there, and that's where we get Cope and Cage tag teaming. Maybe, I don't know. I don't see them fighting there. I see Darby and Moxley fighting at Wrestle Dream in Washington, and Darby picks his chance, and Darby will win the title in his home state of Washington. I know the fans are going to crucify me if this happens, that John Moxley retains. But this story's getting good, and there's so many deep elements. And with Swerve and Ospreay in my storyline winning the tag team match and allowing for the EVPs to no longer be on the Bucks, it now can be a story of who, because I still think we have to get Death Riders versus Team AEW. I think what would it be, part 2, because they already did the Stadium Stampede.
Yeah.
Anarchy in the Arena. So I still think we get a Stadium Stampede, or we'll get a Blood and Guts type of match out of that feud. And so Team AEW could be, Swerve, Hangman, Ospreay, and then pick out of, Mark Briscoe or whoever it may be. But I think Moxley retaining, long-term story, give Darby the opportunity to finally win his belt. I think we end the show like we've ended the last couple pay-per-views, with Moxley staring down his next opponent. Moxley wins. Darby comes out. We get the stare down between Darby, or they paint back to Sting when he was going after Hogan, and Darby standing up in the shadows alone by himself with the single spotlight. And then Sting shows up, and we get that last moment of All In is Darby Allin and Sting, and then it cuts off of the air. But I go Jon Moxley retaining his belt on Saturday night.
It's an interesting way of putting your storyline. If Sting does make an appearance, I hope he gets Just for Men. Maybe trims the beard up a little bit, and Grandpa Sting doesn't come out. We actually get Sting for a minute.
I don't know if you saw the front row of the crowd. There was a guy with really good Sting.
He was really good. I found him on Twitter, and he had posted a bunch of pictures.
Was he the one that made Sammy Guevara think that?
Yes,
it was the real Sting. Okay.
Yes, he got a picture with Adam Page, Lance Archer, Tony Khan. Dude was famous. He's called Doppel Stinger instead of Doppelganger. Doppel Stinger. I like it. That would be an interesting way of ending All In, and I could see that happening for sure. That's not the secondary idea that I had.
Oh.
You were on it, and then you kind of deviated away from it. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. So what I would like to do is either us typing this out, could be on the website, could be on social media, cropping the video, having both of our storylines of what we think is going to happen from what we've said. That third idea or the secondary idea that I had that is really aligned with yours, but it deviates a little bit. What if Darby wins the Casino Battle Royal? Adam Page wins the world title.
Ooh.
But just like it usually happens with Adam Page, something so good happens and then quickly goes away. Darby cashes in, beats him, gets a world title. Would absolutely make everybody go be like, what in the hell just happened? And Adam Page goes back into that lonely, like depressed phase of, I had it. It was in my hands. I pinned Moxley. I won it, and now I don't have it.
So we're pulling the Drew McIntyre moment when CM Punk cost McIntyre the match at Royal Rumble.
But we let Adam Page win the belt. Let him hold it, and then Darby coffin drops from the top rope or something with a chair or with something with a skateboard, knocks out Page, wins the world title, runs away. Maybe Sting grabs him, lifts him up to the rafters, and then Adam Page, we see that picture of Adam Page like, oh my God, like I had it, and then and he just goes on a tear, and that would be an interesting way of setting that up too. One more quick little thought. I don't know if you saw what AEW posted today on YouTube.
They just recently posted Omega versus Hangman on their YouTube. No, just not that.
It was a video that happened today. It was a 34-minute long video.
Uh-huh.
It was a collaboration between them and the Players Tribute.
No, I haven't seen this.
Mini documentary on the Briscoes. You don't just by accident happen to drop that on a random Thursday afternoon that just so happens to be the week of your biggest show of the year.
Right.
Mark Briscoe wins the Casino Battle Royal. I don't really see him winning the world title, but I mean, hey, crazy things have happened. Why would we all of a sudden just throw that documentary out there? Jay Briscoe, and they talked a lot about Jay Briscoe, and that was a really good documentary. And I hope AEW does more of that kind of stuff and collabs with the Players Tribune. That was a great little mini documentary. But Jay Briscoe died January 23rd or January 17th or something like. He died in January.
Right.
Why are we dropping this in July? Could be just a happy thing that happens. Could be something meant to do on purpose. Just like the Washington Commanders dropping their alternate uniforms yesterday, they're going back to the Redskins. No, that ain't going to happen. But we're getting as damn close as we can. Great alternate uniforms. I'm going to buy mine in January. But that's beside the point. A lot of possibilities that could happen with All In. I think the most intriguing things and the most impactful things that are going to happen from this show, yes, are the title belts between Omega and Okada, Mercedes and Tony Storm, but it's that tag match between Ospreay, Swerve, and the Bucks, and the Casino Battle Royal, and this main event. That's going to shape us for what we're about to go into for Forbidden Door, for All Out, Wrestle Dream, Full Gear, World 10. Shaping up. This is obviously shaping up for the next 6 months to a year for AEW. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be an exciting show, and it's going to have a lot written on it. A lot of hype going into the show. AEW delivers on their pay-per-views. I would argue this maybe on par with the first All-In in Wembley Stadium might be the most important show to date. They've got a lot of hype, a lot of momentum, been doing amazing television for the past 7-8 months. Let's keep that momentum going after Saturday night.
Absolutely, and I can't wait for the show on Saturday night. I got one last piece of info that I saw just now. I was still scrolling to see if they added any more matches so far. Nothing confirmed. But what is confirmed is Kevin Von Erich has signed a Legends deal with All Elite Wrestling.
So it happens to be the week of the biggest show of the year. That just so happens to be in the same state where they made their name most famous, in Texas.
So that's interesting. Maybe we see Von Erich show up in some form. Obviously, his sons are 2/3 of the AEW trio or ROH trios champions with Dustin Rhodes. Maybe I think they're fighting on tomorrow night. I don't know if they're defending their belt or not. I haven't seen the full Ring of Honor card yet, but this will be a really interesting next couple of months following All In. Obviously, we got All In, Forbidden Door, All Out, Wrestle Dream, Full Gear, and World's End. The next couple pay-per-views to end the year. And look, if I'm AEW, if I know that WWE is playing the game of we're going to book your stuff, book against us, I'm putting on really solid pay-per-views, and we're going to say you want to be this petty. We'll show you what it means to be to do a real wrestling show, a real wrestling pay-per-view. And so I expect AEW's pay-per-views to be really good. They've done really good TV. Their Go Home show was the #1 show on cable last night, 600 and something thousand. The rest of the shows were in decline. AEW increased from last week to this week. So everyone is watching AEW. And it is a good time to be an AEW fan.
If the craziest thing happens, like maybe Adam Page wins the belt and the Darby cashes in, if he wins a Casino Battle Royal, I would like to propose an emergency podcast for after All In. I don't think it's going to happen. I think if anything really shocking happens, we should do a live Raw reaction to it after the show. It may be late, but that'd be fun. But if not, then we'll just post our stuff on social media of what we thought, and then have this conversation next week for the aftermath of both All In and the aftermath of Dynamite.
Yeah.
Gonna be a fun show on Saturday though. Looking forward to it. I tried to VPN into United Kingdom to pay $20 for All In. It did not work, so I guess I'm gonna have to fork the full amount. But you win some, you lose some.
Absolutely. Remember, everybody, AEW is on All In is this Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We tried to not go head-to-head with WWE with all our might. They still decided to book against us. But anyways, we'll see y'all next week on the live stream here on Thursday. There will be no Saturday show this week for obvious reasons. I gotta prepare for All In. But what I will say is I have said in the Discord, I will see if it'll let me. It didn't let me do Dynamite last night because Max doesn't allow screen share on their app, so I couldn't do it in the Discord. So I don't know if Amazon Prime allows screen share. I don't know how that works. I don't know if Discord allows screen share. I don't want to get banned off of Discord. So if I can get it to work, I may try and stream the pay-per-view with you guys on the Discord. If not, we can just do a watch along in the chat. So you guys enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll toss it over to my guy for the final words.
Big weekend of wrestling this weekend. My opinion, you only have really
5 pay-per-views.
You really only have one show that you should be watching. If you're going to spend $40-$50 on a show, it's going to have to be on Saturday for All In. Obviously, Saturday night's main event, Great American Bash, Super Card of Honor, and Evolution is happening all in the same weekend. Saturday night is going to be a great night for wrestling. Very anxious to see how the show is going to go. Really hyped for it. Really stoked for it. In some capacity, I'm going to need all of y'all to do what we usually say and what we do. That's stir up your best sauce. Could be pizza sauce. Could be a buffalo sauce. It could be marinara, bolognese. It could be whatever you want. You can make some stuff, dip it in a sauce. However you want to do. All I know is that this weekend, forevermore, I need everybody to stay saucy.
We'll see y'all next week. Have a good one.
Beyond